Pokémon Sword and Shield have been some of the most controversial Nintendo games in recent memory. From the very start, people have said that the game is barely an upgrade from the 3DS, and that it isn't really worth buying. Well, after playing Sword, I'm here to throw my hat into the ring. Before we get started, I will say that there are a few hinted spoilers. If you haven't played the game yet, you'll still be in for some surprises, but all my fellow champions should know what I'm referencing. I'm also going to try my best to be as objective as possible, but just know that if you chose Shield, you are objectively wrong. Hey there, I'm Kardino, and welcome to my new sub-series, where I'll be presenting arguments that won't quite fit into the length of a full video, but still keep the quality of the main series. So anyway, today we're talking Pokémon, and it's fair to say that it's been one of the most controversial topics in the Nintendo community as of late. I know people who have personally boycotted the game just because it's not what they wanted out of a new Pokémon game. Pokémon Sword and Shield take place in the Galar region, which is based off the UK, and feature a slew of new Pokémon, including the forms of old favorites. There's also a new super move called Dynamaxing, which is a combination of Mega Evolution and Z moves from Gen 6 and 7. Now, even with these mechanics, I admit I was a bit hesitant to make the plunge, but I downloaded it the night it came out, opened it, and proceeded to play it almost non-stop until I beat the main story 2 days later. In case it wasn't obvious, yeah, I really enjoyed the game. However, I do believe I can still be objective with this game, as even while I was playing, a few of the flaws made themselves apparent. So first of all, a lot of people, including me, were disappointed that a significant portion of the Pokédex was cut. However, I would like to point out something that I never took into consideration: just how many Pokémon there still are. I'm talking hundreds of pocket monsters for you to encounter, battle, and capture. Of course, even with this fact, there's still the issue that must be inevitably brought up. When explaining about the Pokédex cut, the Pokémon Company stated that it would just be too hard for them to remake every model from scratch, except it was later discovered that they use the same models from the 3DS. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it was okay for the Pokémon Company to lie, but I'm also not going to say that the Pokémon all needed remodeling necessarily. Anyway, before I get too far off topic, let's get back to the game. I want to switch to a big positive I noticed: how many invisible ways the gameplay was improved. The UI looks clean, you no longer have the stupid running shoes, and you can operate your box from almost anywhere. Don't like the feature? Then don't use it. I know this is a personal thing, but I also really like the new XP share system. One of the things I hated about the older games is how you need to grind levels for every Pokemon one at a time. It was tedious, it was boring, and it sapped the fun out of the play, combined with the random encounters, which are thankfully also absent. With the new mechanics, the system has mostly gone away with, and it's been greatly balanced since Ultra Sun and Moon. That doesn't mean that you can't just cruise by with your starter though. Like most casual quote-unquote players, I had one or two Pokemon that I used far less frequently than my other members, and it shows too. By the time I started preparing for the final match, those two Pokemon were around 10 levels lower than the rest of my team. Overall, it's a great change to a series that really needed it. And really, this is how the whole game feels, filled with small, quality of life improvements that are almost invisible until you think about the game in comparison with the previous titles. Oh, and in case you haven't noticed it in the background, the music in this game is simply sublime. Sun and Moon's soundtracks were alright, but they often just fit into the background. Here though, that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, I liked it so much that I may or may not have a copy of it in my iTunes library while I wait for Game Freak to release the official one. Seriously, the small sample of songs in this video are nothing in comparison to the full album. Gym leaders, rivals, heck, even small towns. Almost anywhere you go in the game, the soundtrack will just hit you with a banger that you can't resist bumping to. Crushing your rivals' hopes and dreams has never sounded better. Okay, Kardino, enough with the praise. Surely this game can't be perfect. Well, yeah, there are a couple downsides. For one, the technical side of the game could see some enhancements. Pop-in is really noticeable and the graphics are sufficient, but don't go above and beyond to impress. Also, Pokemon will spawn in the grass only if you are nearby, which makes it a real pain to get across a wild area via bike. There are also a few more issues here and there as well, like really obscure evolution methods, and a really subpar evil team. I mean, nothing will compare to Team Skull, don't get me wrong, but these guys are just pathetic. And not in the good way either. Oh, and even though I won't spoil the story, the game does suffer from the obvious bad guy is obvious problem, and their whole shtick just kinda seems like it was an afterthought. Personally, I found it more enjoyable to see how everyone, for lack of a better word, evolved around you, especially in the post-game. In conclusion, I largely believe that Sword and Shield are fantastic Pokemon games that are well worth your time. Sure, they don't do anything drastic to shake up the formula, but how much could Game Freak do to change things up without it losing its authenticity? And to all the people who judge a game without playing it, I urge you to take another look. There's so much to appreciate here that you never be able to see as a spectator. For real though, can you all stop review bombing the game because a tree texture looks bad? I thought most of us had graduated middle school here. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video and making it to the end. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Well, with the Kappa situation right now, the future of this channel is unclear, so your support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me, so I'll just finish by saying thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.